Alright, I just got done putting together another terrarium, and this one is for my fire skink. So I haven't done any videos yet of my fire skink since I got him. So this video is just going to quickly show you his cage, show you his old cage. I'll introduce you then to him and talk a little bit about him, and then we're going to set him loose in his cage and see how he likes it. This here is the cage in front of me. I have not come up with a title yet for this cage, by the way. Usually they're titled before they're done, but I was kind of going for a sort of more of a tropical theme, working with what I happen to have on hand. This is more of like a tropical forest rather than forest, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. But this here is a 20-gallon high. Yeah, so it's a 20-gallon high aquarium, and it was one of them by, I think it's Arzilla that makes them, but it was one that had one of these sliding top screen doors that go in on a track here on either side. And then they slide in and get clamped on the back. And then there was the front of the screen would come down over and sit here and cover up this hole. Well, this is my little brother's old turtle tank, which I just scrub all of the algae off of it. So I had quite a lot of cleanup work to do when I got the tank, but when the turtle died, I said I would clean it as long as I got to keep the tank. So that's how I acquired it. And the screen, unfortunately, on it was rusted out, and the cats had been scratching at it, so it had a pretty decent hole in it, so it wasn't really good anymore. So this has kind of been sitting around in my basement, and I tried to sell it. Nobody wanted it without the top. And I actually found where to buy the replacement tops that slide in there, but they cost more than a brand new tank does. They cost like 40 bucks after shipping, which was crazy. So, and the regular screens, like this one over here, do not cover this gap here, because the frame in the front, as you can see, is actually lower than the rest of the frame, so there's always a gap here. So my grandpa made me this homemade screen here. It fits really, really tight, and then he added these support bars just to give it some really, really good support. This is just old actual window screening that's in here. It's not rough or anything. And then this is just like 2x4s and stuff, I believe. And then you'll see the screening is actually stretched across and then nailed in there. I think he added a little glue too, but it's in there really good, and it fits really, really tight. Anyway, so I finally have a screen for it. I can finally use it. Yay! Since I had it laying around, I decided this would be perfect for the fire skink I got. Instead of getting him an actual plastic Rubbermaid tub, this would be a lot nicer. It was laying around, I had it to use. So, and the minimum cage size for an adult fire skink is usually considered a 20 long. But since fire skinks do really, really, really like to burrow, I decided instead to go ahead and use my 20 high, and then that way I could give him a deeper substrate and some things to climb on, because they will climb if you give them the opportunity, I've been told. So I figured a 20 high should be a nice fine swap out, because I can give him more burrowing room since they are burrowers. And you'll see when I put him in, he does not look cramped at all or make the cage look small. So in relation to him, it looks good. But my substrate here, go ahead and get a closer look at it. There you go. My substrate is actually, it's actually a mixture of 3 different things. It's cypress mulch, which I just got a loose bag of. Cypress mulch. This here is a coconut husk which I've only been able to find this in the brick, not in a bag. So I kind of got the brick broken in half the best I could and then expanded it, and have half a brick in here with like about a half a bag, small bag of cypress mulch. And then I also put in some moss, because I was already expanding a brick of moss for an amphibian terrarium that you'll see later. So I just kind of threw some moss in there, give it some green, make it a little bit more jungly, looking in there. I think it looks much nicer than just the plain old cypress did. You get that nice texture mix and everything. I think it looks great. I love it. So glad I decided to mix it. And this is going to be great for burrowing. And I chose this. A lot of people I know also use coconut fiber, like the Eco Earth for their skinks. I love it. I do, but it's when you get it damp, it sticks in the reptile. It sticks on everything. It gets on you, and it turns into a big mess. And if you don't mix like a wood into it anyway, with all the mistings, it tends to get compacted down. So this woody substrate with the moss and everything in it, you can see it's really loose, and it should stay really loose. It's not gonna, you can see me squeeze it. It doesn't compact very easily. It stays pretty fine and loose. So it'll be very easy for him to burrow under and dig through, and I think he's really gonna love that. And it definitely stays really damp. Both coconut husk and, well, coconut shell technically, and the cypress mulch hold humidity very well, and they're resistant to mold. So it's perfect for anything where you need higher humidity, but you don't need, you know, humidity like at 80% or something like you may for an amphibian. So, but it's perfect. It's perfect where you need like 50 to 60. Great stuff. Probably even honestly get it up there to 80, but it's not going to hold it there as well. But yeah, it's great. I think he's going to like it, and I love the color. I love all the texture it brings into the setup. Here's his the dishes. You can see I have worms. Right here's his food dish. You can see I have worms in there. I have some young super worms, like some medium-sized super worms, and some larger mealies in there. I breed them all myself. Both colonies are doing excellent, so I have a lifetime supply of food. This here, which I just got gunk in it, yeah, of course. This here is just like a small white ceramic like souffle dish that I picked up at the dollar store. I started getting really cheap with my reptile dishes, honestly. I love the rock looking ones, the pet store, but I don't feel like paying $20 for the large one or so. So, I mean, I picked this up for 20 bucks. It's not very deep. I mean, you can see it's not very deep at all. So, he's not going to drown in it. He should be able to get in and out of it just fine, very easily, and everything. So, it should be perfect for him. And again, I had it on hand. So, this over here, this is one of those Terra magnetic rock hides. I got this second hand, actually, so I had it on hand. I paid extra. I bought an Terra 18 by 18 by 18. And then I paid extra to get a lot of the supplies with it. So you can see it's pretty banged up there. And then it's actually chipped, and the person had glued it together. Glued it back, well, glued over the hole here. But it is one of the magnetic hides. Oh, it's so magnetic, I can't even get it off. There we go. So it's one of those magnetic hides. I'm sorry you can't see this too well, apparently. But he's got 2 levels. It's pretty big, and my opening, which is right here, you can see it's actually buried underneath the substrate level. And again, that's because fire skinks are burrowers. So I figured, you know, while he's burrowing, he might go in there and he might enjoy it being below substrate level. And then I actually do have some moss, a little bit of damp moss packed into here. So this is going to also serve as a humid hide. for when he's shedding, a place that's going to retain humidity a little better for him. And I can peek in without disturbing him. Yay! Hope he uses it. You'll see I have 2 pieces of cork bark in here. I just have this little one, just something he can go, place for him to climb. Sorry, my camera doesn't want to focus. Give me a second, YouTube. Maybe. What? There we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just have this piece of cork bark here. It's just a place for him to climb up on, and then it'll create a little place for him to hide on. If he wants to climb up on the rock hide and hide back there, he can. He might be able to fit under there pretty snugly too on the bottom. This one back here is pretty big. You can see it's under a plant. Pretty big piece here. It's kind of oddly shaped. Again, it's just standing up across the glass, against the glass. So he can go hide in behind it. So this will create a above ground hide. Again, fire skinks are burrowers. You don't really need to give them hides. They actually tend to just dig up right underneath their water bowl and kind of lay there. So I needed a heavy water dish, hence why it's a ceramic. But, you know, again, places for them to climb. People have reported their fire skinks will hide or dig a little hole out underneath an above ground hide and be burrowed directly beneath the piece of wood or Terra rock or whatever they give them. So I have a nice big piece there. And then this plant, this is actually silk. It's one of my favorite silk plants. I mean, it's very nicely colored and it looks pretty real, honestly. You know, the leaves do, the stems look very fake. But, and I just have that, you know, tucked down in behind there, in behind the hide. And that holds it up. And then just kind of draped it over just to give him some color. Gives him, again, a nice shaded place, some cover, so he doesn't feel so exposed when he's coming to drink out of his water bowl and everything like that. So I figured that'd be a nice little offering there. It also adds some nice color, some nice color to the tank, which it desperately needed. So there's his tank. Oh, by the way, this is the hot side. This is the cool side. And you'll see the dish is pretty much in the middle, so it'll get hopefully a little bit of heat to evaporate a little bit quicker to keep his humidity up, so I'm not spraying as much. But anyway, that's the tank. So let's go ahead and meet him. This is his old tank. This is just a sweater tub, a Sterilite sweater under the bed, like sweater box that I melted holes in. And it does have clamps down the lid, so it stays pretty good and everything. These are plastic bowls. Again, I got them like a 4-pack at the dollar store for $1 and just cut holes in them for hides. Again, this is just a $1 Betty Crocker container, and I just put river stones in it, like fish, aquarium river stones I had on hand. Just kind of clean them off, chuck them in there to weight them down, and that's been his dish so far. He can fit in this, so he should be able to fit in there. He may require something a little bit bigger, so we're just going to see how he goes. With actual good thick substrate and a humid hide, he shouldn't have to soak in his water dish anymore. So let's go ahead and find him. I just have paper towels thrown in here for his substrate. I got him back on the 6th of December at a reptile show, and he's been doing pretty good. So quarantine period is over. His poop has been looking kind of questionable though. But there's one that looks decent. I don't really know what's normal for them. He's probably all the way up. Yep, there he is. He's all the way up under. There he is. Hey boy. I know I had you out earlier. Like, what's going on? See, look at him. He's like, no. Like any fire skink, he doesn't, or any lizard. Some cat just did something, I know. Yeah, I don't know. Like any reptile, lizard, typical skink. When you go to grab him, when you dig him up, he's not too happy about it. He wants to run away and stay buried underneath the substrate. But once you have him out, and again, this stinking camera. Once you get him out, he's pretty cooperative. You can see he's just sitting there checking everything out, being cute for the camera. He is almost adult, so he's almost completely grown. I think he thinks my fingers are food. Oh no, he's checking out his bedding. He knows there's worms in that dish, I think. But you can see, compared to the tank, does not make it look small by any means. So, but he is almost completely full grown. He's an adult male. He's the brightest. He was the brightest, sweetest one of the bunch. And he's probably pretty hungry. Come here. Brightest, sweetest one of the bunch. I think he knows there's worms in the dish. I think he kind of sees them. But his name is Teostra. And he was, like most fire skinks on the market, the seller did tell me that all of their stock is wild caught. However, their supplier that they get them from puts them under quarantine and treats them with a Panicure dewormer before they ever ship out to them. And he's been doing great. He eats awesome. He's been, you know, he had a shed for me. He hasn't lost any weight or anything. So, I think he's absolutely adorable. Pretty friendly. But that's Teo. Let's go ahead, stick him in his cage, and see what he thinks. See how long it takes him to find his food. Hey. Pardon me a second, YouTube. Hey, Teo. He'll probably go right for the food as soon as he sees it's there. But you can see he by no means looks cramped in this tank. He has plenty of room. Don't try to burrow under it. Don't try to burrow under that, buddy. He's gonna anyway. He's a little silly. You can see he's like, oh, food. Oh, food, food, food. Food. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah. He's hungry all the time. He eats like a champ. So is my leopard gecko. He's always hungry. He acts like I never feed him. But yeah, you can see he by no means looks cramped in this tank. He doesn't make it look tiny. He's got plenty of room. He's got plenty of substrate to dig under. Everything's pretty easy to pick up for me to dig under in order to dig him out. I do handle him quite often because he doesn't seem stressed out. Some fire skinks take it great and tame down well, and others don't. But like I said, I picked one out that was pretty friendly from the get-go and the brightest of the bunch. But yeah, he's got plenty of things to dig on, plenty of room to crawl around, and now he's got things to climb up on too, which what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, which I know sometimes people are concerned about having too much stuff in their tank, and they feel that too much decorations, it can be too cramped. Depending on what decorations you're using them and in the manner you're using them, more is actually better. I mean, like his rock hide, he should be able to climb up on top of this, plus he can go on the inside. So he's got a hide and a place to climb. Right here is vertical access he didn't have before. So none of this cage space is going to waste. The same thing with the 2 pieces of bark. It's something that allows him to climb up, to climb vertical. So he now has access to the upper levels of the cage where he wouldn't, which is something he wouldn't get if you just put like a suction cup plant like this one in the cage. I mean, if he was a gecko, yes, he could climb on that, but he's not. So I'm providing vertical space. And with the cork bark, not only can he climb on the front, but he can climb on the back side. So he actually has two climbing structures. It creates hides, it creates climbing, it actually increases living space. Now, your things like your bowl, your dishes, if you possibly have like smooth hide, something that your animal can't get on top of, something that's got a very wide base and is sitting on the floor, taking up floor space, can very much so make cramp your cage. Again, like, unless they can get under it and climb on top of it, then you actually double the amount of space. So that is him. He's decided he's gonna go look around now. Probably burrow. You can see he's not really a shy fellow. Oh, there he goes. Get a good look at him burrowing. There he goes. He's burrowing. Oh, he's in behind the bark. Cork bark. You can see the cork bark is, he's shaking it. He's probably totally going to knock it over. Which is okay, because the cork bark is very, very light. It's very lightweight. If it falls over, it's, you know, it's not going to crack the glass. It's not going to hurt him if it falls on top of him. Same thing with this plant. It's very lightweight. It's going to fall over. It's going to get moved around unless you like glue it to your tank. But if it falls on your glass, it's not going to crack your glass, and it's not going to crush your animal. Something like a nice big grapevine branch for climbing, if something like that falls over, it could potentially crush your animal or hurt your glass. So I love cork bark just because it is worry-free for me. It is a little bit more expensive, but I have a guy, my local reptile show, that's actually a pretty cheap wholesaler. For instance, this piece here cost me $1, and this bigger piece back here, I think was like $2 or $4. I don't remember which bin I got it out of. It was probably from the $4 bin. I think I only have one really big piece that came out of the $6 bin, and one really giant piece over here that was $10, because you can see it's almost the entire length of my 20 long. But yeah, really cheap. My local pet shop, a piece this big, like under here, that I only paid $4 for, would have cost me $8 or more. So I have a guy, I collect it. Every time I go to the show and he's there, I come home with a bag full. I spend like $10 at his stand. The way I keep buying reptiles, I figured I can't have too much cork bark. You know, I can always have it on hand, and if I bring something home, you know, toss in the plastic bowls or whatever for the first month, make sure they're mite free and everything, and then I can just toss them on some whatever substrate I have laying around at the time, toss in some bowls from the dollar store, and toss in some cork bark for them to hide under and climb on, and right there I have a full setup on hand. May not necessarily be pretty, but on hand. Trying to think if there's anything else you may be interested in knowing. Well, guess not.